Hi guys, it's Hillary coming to you again from State College, Pennsylvania, and I want to talk a little bit about my subject. His name is BoyX, or BX for short. I want to talk a little bit about how he was affected by the ASQ and vice versa. He's 5 years old, and I think it's really important to start with his environment. Is there is the ASQ a good tool to use with populations, his population in general? I'm going to say yes and no. No being because if we look at a macro scale of all of New Jersey, we're seeing all different types of kids. We're seeing all different types of environment. We're seeing kids in Princeton who strictly go to private school, and we're seeing kids in Camden who have a very poor school situation and a lack of teachers. So I'm going to say no, talking just about New Jersey, but we're talking at a tinier micro scale for BoyX. We're talking about just his school system and just his town, which is a very, very, very blue collar town. They're feeling the middle class squeeze. So first of all, there's no private school around them. And even if there was, these parents would not be able to afford it. So they all go through the same teachings in the same public school system, which is a great public school system together. They all, their whole cohort will go through K to 12 together. And unless you have a learning disability, they will go through the same skill set together. They will go up Erickson's crisis model together. And their home life would be the only thing that would really deviate them from whatever the other kids are working on. The other thing is that a lot of these kids go to summer camp and they go to daycare and they go to after school programs. And that really helps reinforce those teachings that they learned in school. So the ASQ becomes a little more solidified. Also, they're learning about these communication skills because they're with kids who might be older or younger all together. So while we're still reinforcing the cognitive skills, the fine motor skills, the problem solving skills, we're also working on those communication skills at the end of our after school program. So yes, I think the ASQ is a good tool to measure this population. And I think I learned a lot about the ASQ while going through this. I learned that, most importantly, in my opinion, the ASQ is just a suggestion, not a definitive exam guide, not a definitive exam, because it's only bones. We can't learn everything about this child and who he is just from objective questions. And even the miscellaneous questions, they're still a little bit hazy because they kind of mirror a lot of questions that come from the objective questions. Some of them ask, the miscellaneous questions ask, does your child have a speaking problem? And then the objective questions ask the same thing. So we really need to dive more into child's life. Again, these ASU questions are just bones. They're not a complete package. So as we talk a little bit more about the child, to mom, to dad, we need to definitely dive deep into their personal life. And I think that'll really make me a well-rounded social worker. The other thing I learned is that all kids are not on the extremes. You don't have, all kids don't need to be round the clock care, and not all kids need to be left alone. For BoyX, I found these interventions to be smack in the middle, that he needs to learn to read more, he needs to color more, he needs to go outside more, but he doesn't need intervention 12 hours a day, and he should not be left to his own devices. And I think a lot of children fit into that middle subject where the interventions are not to be watched at and the interventions are not to not be watched at. Coloring, more play, more math problems, whatever it is, they don't need social work around the clock. And I think that's a good indicator of how we can connect with other social workers to kind of feed off one another. What I would want to tell to other social workers is that all children are different. Despite them going through the same schooling system, their answers are not going to be the same. No child's going to have the same answers to the ASQ. Not one. They're all different, from their home life to their personal life. Yes, they might have some of the same answers to, fine motor skills because they're all learning that together, but no child is going to have the same score on the ASQ. Not one child. And I think environment is something that really needs to be taken into consideration. We can't have the ASQ judge like New Jersey as a whole, but we can have it judge in his small macro group. And I think that if environment's going to take any role, we need to look specifically into that. And I think that's all I've got. So thanks, guys.